you for listening to Fem Talk 89 FM. We are on air in Labasa, and it's time for another episode of this season of Radio with Pictures on My TV. Thanks to the support of UNDP's CAFE program, supported by the European Union, DFEDS, and the International Women's Development Agency, as well as Oxfam.
Kini. Now, whether it's the National Development Planning process or talking about the new Sustainable Development Goals, according to the Post-2015 Women's Coalition, of which FemLink Pacific is a member, democracy, equality and peace, as well as long-term national prosperity and well-being, are indicators of sustainable and inclusive development. In this episode of Radio with Pictures, which we filmed following our recent Northern Division consultation, we're going to be hearing more about what 50 women leaders representing close to 600 members have to say about development priorities. In our earlier episode, filmed here at our Labasa Community Media Center, we heard about the need for healthcare to reach communities, whether it's a well-resourced, well-functioning dispensary or maternal health care. We heard, for example, that women living on Mali Island, and I'm not just talking about that part of Mali Island which is closest to Labasa town, but the most furthest part of Mali Island, women have to travel very long distances and then by boat just to get to the maternity unit at Labasa Hospital. Infrastructure improvements continue to be a problem for women in communities. Some women, yet again, married for more than 20 years without water, without proper drainage, without electricity. Children having to travel across very poor roads to get to school. Beyond the lovely highway, there's still very poor roads. Roads and shipping, infrastructure, access to transport also affect communities' access to markets, whether they're producing agricultural produce, handicraft, or whether they're involved in fisheries. Are these the same issues for these 6 women? Let's find out. We welcome Maria Ili. Maria is the treasurer of the Nambukebuke Women's Club, and she's joined us from Makole village in Boa. We have Anshu Rakesh. Anshu is the president of the Association of Anglican Women here in Labasa. We have Maria Tambuavale, is a member of the Bulileka Young Mothers Club and a member of the Labasa Market Vendors Association. We're also joined by Sophia Yi. You're a member of the Merlina Women's Club based in Wailevu Village in Labasa. And we have Andi Naomi from Mataniwai Women's Group, and Rusila Lotiki, who is a program assistant of FemLink Pacific based in Labasa. And Rusila is one of the young women who helps us with our Fem Talk 89 FM Labasa broadcasts, Monday to Fridays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let's start with you, Maria. You're a treasurer of your women's club, all the way to out in Boa. Leadership for you, what does that mean in terms of organizing the women, but also communicating the priorities?
Thank you, Sir Sharon. As leadership in my community, I have to be trustful by the members of the group. I have to be faithful and to be well educated, so that I can. There were things I've told my community members. It should be make sense to them.
Yes. So it's about communication.
Yeah. And I have to listen to what all the members have to say, not just to listen on my own decisions. That's all, Sharon.
Is it also about being able to be heard? We heard in our previous episode that sometimes women are leading, but they're not being listened to when it comes to planning and development priorities. Are you also being heard as a woman leader in your community?
Sometimes it's always be a problem. Some people just against what I have decided, but some they fall from what I have decided.
What about the men? Are the men listening to you? Is the Turangani Koro listening to you when it comes to planning?
Yeah, Turangani Koro always listen to me. Whatever I say, he has to for me.
Okay.
And every time I called him for our own decision, surely he always accepts it and goes to the wherever he can solve a problem. Maybe in the village meetings, and right to the district meeting, right over to, up to the the provincial council, where all the government officials are.
Okay, thanks, Maria. Anshu, as the president of the Association of Anglican Women in Labasa, you are not just involved with leading women in the town community, but out in other parts of Labasa. What are some of the leadership issues that you're trying to promote? What's leadership for you?
Thank you, Sharon. Leadership to me is it's a very important role. Like being a woman, we should be very humble and trustworthy and dedicated to the work we are given to. For example, I give my example. I'm the president of the association, and I believe that I got that quality. That's why the women have chosen me to be there, and I am serving there for more than 3 years. And another example to be a good women leader, I would give that in my church, Anglican church, there are 2 women lady priests, and women are serving as lay ministers. And moving out from the church, I would give an example because when I move on the streets of Labasa town, I would always see the lady constables, and that's where I feel proud that women are in leadership and they are heard. Thank you.
What are some of the challenges for you? Is it easy to raise the issues on behalf of the women that you're leading, whether it's in the vestry meetings or in other community meetings as well? Are the women in their communities being heard?
In our church, we have a vestry, which is our parliament, where our decisions are made. Women are being heard there. I'm proud of that our church is giving chance to women as leaders, and their voices are heard because we got few ladies in our meetings, and even in our ladies group and other groups, because I'm not only the president here in town, because I'm representing other 5 centers, which is in Vunivau and Batanicama, Wailevu and Siberia. So women are, I'm proud to say that women are heard, their voices are heard, and men are valuing their voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshu. And we'll come back to hear what some of those development priorities are for the women in those communities. Maria, you're active. You're a very busy market vendor, and your leadership is one within your village community, but you're also a member of the Market Vendors Association. How are you finding that, balancing those? Is it the same in terms of women leading, or are there different challenges?
Yes, Sharon, thank you. I think a good leadership will be the one who listens and moves the country forward by listening to his people, because we are the one, we are living the daily life and we're facing the daily issues that we have. If our issues are heard by a good leader and he solves the problem, then only can a country move forward, and they are always ready to listen to whatever people say and whatever they want. In the community that I live, I think most women there, the majority of women selling in the market are us women. Some of the barriers that I face, that the women are lack of skills and lack of understanding. They are afraid to speak out, or lack of communication. But from joining this family, Sharon, I come to realize and I come to know that women are able to speak out. Because sometimes people are sitting there in the market, they are afraid of speaking. They're afraid. They hide their issues with them. And I thank this organization that I come and see that women are able to speak.
Thanks, Maria. Sophia, Maria's just talking about sometimes women are afraid to speak out. Are you facing that in the club? I mean, is it only that a few women feel brave or strong enough to speak out within the club or within the community?
Thank you, Sharon. I think, especially in the villages, I think this issue is occurs mainly in the villages, because I stay in a village, and most of the time the men are the ones that
Are speaking?
are speaking, carrying out all the decisions in the village. So yes, I think it's a problem as well.
So
Our
what do you
community.
think could help the women, for example, in the Merlina Women's Club? What would make it easier or safer for the women to speak? Should men be reminded that you need to make decisions in consultation together with women?
Yes, I think they should be reminded all the time, because they're the head and they believe that they are the ones that should be head. So I think they should be reminded often of that women should be head.
Okay, thank you. Andinami, you live in Mataniwai village. Is this a challenge for you also in terms of young women in particular speaking out?
Thank you, Sharon. From my point of view from the village, is I'm a 25-year-old woman. We young women are not being heard, and communication is one of the issue that men are not listening to us, and we really need the NGOs, especially these ones, to come to our village to educate women so that their voices are being heard. Thank you.
So the structures are there in the Bosevakoro, in the Tikina Council, but particularly if we focus on the Bosevakoro, how would you, what is that kind of education? What is that kind of training to support women and young women to be heard through that village meeting channel?
I think some of the educations are the NGOs that focuses on men, especially the Women's Crisis Center. They should come and not just focusing on women, and they should be focusing especially on the leaders as the Turangani Koro, the Turangani Avusa, so that they could know where they are standing in the community. They are not just leading, but they should take their time to listen to the community and to the village people. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andinami. Rusila, you've been involved in a number of programs. You go out to the communities, you're collecting stories, you're sharing it also, for example, with the Young Women's Forum, together with the Fiji Women's Forum, where both these networks of women are talking about the need for more participation in local government, local governance. Do you think young women should just wait their turn to be heard, like at the village level or at the district level, or is it time to really actively participate, and how could that happen?
Thank you, Sharon. I think we should not wait because time is going on, and for us young women, we are the leader of today. So it is good if the stakeholders and the government officials, they should give a decision to the young women for them to participate, and also a freedom so that they can share out about the issues and the priorities of a young woman. Because nowadays, for example, in most of the villages, when I have been to for our Oxfam project, for example, Makolei, in Buavo, in Tawake, Langi, Vitina, almost when I came to that village, the only thing that I saw in the village was the young women staying in the village, carrying a small baby. So I think there should be more awareness for the young women, and also for the women to participate more in the meetings, and also for them to raise their issues and concern. And also on top of that, if the women in the village, the older women are concerned about the younger generation. And that could involve the women's participation at all levels, from the Mbosevakoro to the Tikina, to the Sana, to the provincial, and so forth. They can move on further.
Okay, thank you. So you've talked about the structures, Rusila, where we need to be heard, and that we need to understand the needs not just of the older women but the younger women. We heard in our previous episode the specific need of elderlies, the older women in our communities, and of course we have women with disabilities, and too often the LGBT community is very marginalized from decision making. Maria, you mentioned that the Turangnikoro listens to you. So are you seeing the development that you want? What are the development priorities right now that you're hoping that you can communicate to the Turangnikoro and it will make its way through the decision-making structures into the National Development Plan? What's one development priority that you'd like to see addressed?
That what we've been wanting to have this, that our decisions to be made.
So you want decisions to be made, but what are these decisions? What's the development priority you want to see addressed in the next 5 years?
We should send more of the young schools, young children to education, so that they can learn more things, and to come to the village and share their decisions
Share
and
their
knowledge to the people in the village.
There is free education now that's been offered, primary school, secondary school. Is this not happening? Are you saying that young people are getting educated but they're not coming back to the village? Could you explain a bit more? What do you mean by getting more young people educated?
Because some of the students, when they go over to school, they're not coming back because of they just go and especially in town, they follow one another in doing some criminal in town, and therefore they're not in the mood of coming back home.
Do you think they're not in the mood of coming back home because there's a lack of facilities, for example, that's not in the village?
It might be.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Maria. Anshu, what are you hearing? You mentioned that you're not just working in town, but in several other communities such as Siberia. What are you seeing as the development priorities?
Thank you, Sharon. I would be my development priority would be educating young mothers, because when I go to the areas where I'm serving now, like in Siberia, Batnika, Mawailevu, some of the young girls, like when they are in secondary school, they are, if they get pregnant, and after that their life ends, their education life I'm talking about, and they don't have a place to go, because that's the mistake done by them, and after that they just stay home and just look after their children, and because they are so young, I think they should be given a chance, like educating young mothers. There should be some way to educate young mothers, because they are left out.
So complete their formal education.
Yes.
Where could this happen? Do you think we need to provide schools? I mean,
Yes.
just for Labasa, you have St. Mary's here. Do you think St. Mary's could be a place where young mums could come for after 3 o'clock, attend classes? What would that look like?
For me, my personal view is that I think that there should be a vocational school to be in Labasa, built in Labasa, so that they can accommodate all these young mothers. Because if they won't be able to go back to school, because there will be differences. So if it could happen that there could be a vocational school for young mothers so that they can further their education.
So we need to make sure, because government has also been investing in the development of vocational colleges, to make sure that this is accessible by young mums, school dropouts, find ways of not just going from Form 7 into vocation, but coming back into the school system as well.
Yes.
Thanks, Anshu. Maria, what would you see as your main development plan? You spend a lot of your time in the market, and there are market improvements taking place. Is that enough, or what else could be done to support women like you?
Vinaka Sharon, in health security is a priority for women concerning the status of health service. For example, in the Labasa market, the toilet closed after 6 p.m. in the afternoon and will be open again in the next day. And also the market vendors from rural area are there. Example, from Loma Loma, Sanganga, Dongotuki, from Namuka, Sangani, they come there at the weekend to sell their produce, and some of them sleep there under the table in the weekend to sell their produce in the next day. Where will they go and sleep? Where will they go and use the toilet? Because that time the toilet is closed. What would they eat? They have to buy their food. And also the issue of economic security in the higher cost of living. The concerns of market vendors, a recent increase in cost of market. Table fees, which is now is $2.50 per day. As a registered market vendor, when you are not coming in a day or a week or a month, you have to pay that arrears. If the table not paying, somebody else will take the table. Apart from other individual license for different sold for market vendors, we have to pay $6.50 to the town council and the daily cost of the table fee. And those selling juice, for example, they pay extra $50 for the new license or renewing of license every year. And what about the end of the day? Women are there in the market from early morning till the afternoon. They are there for the whole day. Sometimes the sales are slack. Sometimes the women are aware. What might be probably of the sale of that day, the profit must be $5 to $10 each day when they are selling. It leads to for me, that is economic security in terms of food for daily needs and needs for the children, transportation. Some travel away from Loma Loma, about 70 to 100 kilometers to Labasa town. As women, we have priorities, cost of food and more bills. We pay it at home, transportation, cost, and now the table cost has increased. Women are aware of paying table fees during the high cost of living.
So you're raising issues in terms of some of the needs to support women who work at the market, in terms of market vendors, that there's probably a need to review some of these bylaws. The Local Government Act is supposed to be reviewed, but some of the bylaws that affect how markets operate. I just wanted to know, for the women that have to travel 70 to 100 kilometers to come and sell at the market, wouldn't it be better for somebody to come and buy their produce?
They only come at the weekend, but in that weekend they are coming there to sell their produce.
What kind of produce are they bringing?
They are bring like just a banana or a bag of roro. It's not enough for them to sell that produce in that and come again and pay their table fees in that day.
So wouldn't it be better if someone was going and buying from them rather than... Because how much would the transport be? 70, 100 kilometers?
That might be $6.50.
$6.50.
But in the carrier,
yes,
they will pay another $30 to $50 for their produce.
So it's a lot of money just to come and sell once a week, yeah? So we need to keep track of where are the women and support them in agricultural production. Thank you, Maria. You got a lot of information about the market. Sophia, for the Melina Women's Club, you're based in Wailevu Village. What are the development priorities you are hoping that the new National Development Plan will address?
Thank you, Sharon. As a member of the Melina Women's Club, I think my development priorities will be infrastructure in terms of roads, street lights, and I think, bridges. For example, here at Wailevu, we've got a good road. We've got footpaths along the road, but then there's no street lights. And that's a big problem because the drains are big, but the footpaths have no railings. So that becomes a big problem because at night there's a lot of kids, and I think a few years ago some people fell into the drain because there was no railings. So I think that would be a development priority for me. And in my village, I'm from Senganga, and Senganga is approximately 100 kilometers from Labasa, and my village is 15 minutes from Senganga town, but there's a very poor road condition. And most of the time, due to the poor road condition, we have to pay $10 to $15 hiring the van because there's no bus service there.
Okay.
So I think that's...
So access to transport, the affordability, the road improvements. Thank you, Sophia, for information both from Wailevu village and Senganga. Coming very quickly back to you, Auntie Naomi. You have a bakery project in the village. Is that helping? Is that contributing to some of the village development, or do you have other priorities?
Thank you, Sharon. Basing from the bakery that the Ministry of Women have sponsored, the women in my community, they're really helping their families, especially the young mothers. They are learning to bake rather than just weaving and fishing. So with some of their source of income earned from baking. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so just to wrap up, Rusila, we've heard about all these range of priorities, whether it's vocational education that provides for or supports young mums to go back to school. We've heard about the needs for market vendors or women's access to markets, infrastructure improvements, employment or village developments that can make sure that young people come back and live in the village, not just leave it all behind once they go to town. How can young women and be contributing to these kinds of changes?
Thank you, Sharon. I'm also one of the program assistant here at Family Pacific. I think the only best way is for the young women for us, for example, as family linkers, if we can go to the communities and do radio programs with them in terms of the issues and actually what are the young women and women in the communities they face. For example, when we're in Langi village, that Langi is about 150 kilometers away from Labasa town. And right now, most of the people, the younger or the youth, they stay in the village. And one of the concerns that I found out in the village is that because they don't have any road from Langi to the Duavata Secondary School, and also it is a boarding school for both the primary and secondary. And the only way for them to go to school is by boat. And the boat was being given by the Ministry of from Education. And on top of that, when the children get in the boat, the secondary, there's only one boat, but it has to pick the students from nearby villages. But they don't have any safety
no life
jacket for the students. And I think for us young women, we need to go to the communities, for example, Family Links, because we do radio program for our community radio, for us to do the production and announce it on air, and also going to the community doing a survey, and also asking the women from out of our 10 radius, the CBM, the Sakondra Vimboa and Madhuata, if they have time for them to come over to our Labasa Community Media Center, if they can come and elaborate more on the issues that they really face. Because talking about their issues, we'll just only grab the one that we feel that should be. But for them, if they'll come over and speak, because they know better than us family linkers, because they come from their own village, they know actually the issues.
So you're talking really about making the issues heard through women's voices, drawing the issues from their communities and making it visible, because unfortunately you're still not being heard in the development structures. Sometimes you are, but in most of the time you're not, and that maybe it's not just about the national development planning process, but throughout the process we need to keep highlighting what the issues are. Thank you so much, Rusila, Maria, Anshu, Andi Naomi, Maria Ili and Sophia Yi for joining us in this episode of Radio with Pictures. It's back to you, Kini.
Thank you, Sharon. And we'll be back the same time next week for another new episode of Radio with Pictures. And don't forget to tune in to Fem Talk 89 FM Suva if you're living in the Nabuan Nausori corridor, or Fem Talk 89 FM Labasa on air from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays in Labasa town.